A final panel about Web3 Fine Art. Welcome our last speakers before the lunch break. Henrik, in person.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining. And I'm happy to introduce you now to a panel about fine art with these awesome three ladies here, which are all experts in both traditional and the newly emerging Web3 art space. So on my left, we have Annette. Do you want to quickly introduce yourself?
Of course, yeah. So I'm Annette. So I'm coming from the additional art world. I'm art historian, but is specialized in technology-based art, so lecturer and university as well for media art. In 2014, we already co-founded Unpainted, which was Germany's first art fair for digital art, so pioneer work. Now we co-founded X Circle, so it's an immersive gallery where you can perceive digital art in digital spaces. And yeah, so on. So, Anna.
We go the round.
Hello, my name is Maja Spiess. I'm the CVO of Pinsel, which is a fine art NFT platform. I also hail from the more traditional art world sphere, and I'm a trained sculptor and worked in many different roles within the art world, both a little bit in an art and tech context. And we are aiming to bridge the gap between the fine art and the Web3 world. And I give it over to Viola.
Hi, hello everybody. My name is Viola Lucas. I'm here as a director of NFT Curation of Misa.art. And we are also developed this platform in the past 2 years in order to give opportunity for traditional art world players to immerse into Web3 technologies and also to invite digital artists to get real life experiences, exhibitions. And I'm super excited to sit at this panel here with the ladies and discuss about digital and traditional art world.
Okay, so let's jump directly in. Annette, we already talked about it yesterday a little bit, so I will just ask a very general question in the beginning. What is art?
Yeah, that's interesting. So I would say since the 20th century, yeah, so art is more an idea, a concept, a story, which is much more important than the medium itself, I would say. And but for me, the most interesting thing is the reflection of zeitgeist. Yeah, so if you go into a museum, so it's always about innovation and zeitgeist, and that is reflecting the time. And so if you look at the zeitgeist now to understand contemporary art, it's about digital transformation, it's about artificial intelligence, it's about XR concept. And XR, for example, it would change the whole interaction in our world. And so if we go through NFTs, so NFTs for me, for example, it's nothing new. So it's not new art, but what we have there is really the opportunity with smart contracts to extend the art. It's an extension of art, and so smart contract-based co-ownership or co-creation is really game-changing for the art world, I would say.
Do you want us to dive in here, or do you have a next
Please
question?
Please dive in.
I think I'd like to add just one thing. Art, for me, is pretty much any form of human creation. And I think now we have new tools for human creation. And since the beginning of time, since we evolved into the shape that we have now, we've been trying to tell stories. And art is such an important part of that. And now that we have these new digital tools, we can create much larger or different stories that will also outlast in a very different way or have a different reach. And I think that's why this combination is so enticing of fine art and NFTs.
Yeah, I think that's a very important point because somehow art helps us to recognize human aspects of technology. So basically the function or the utility, if you like, of art is that really we can shape technology in a way that it reflects rather humanity than something more alienating than that.
Very cool. So I will start. I will go back with you, Viola, because we have two art pieces from you on site. So moving over to the question, how have you curated this, and what does curation mean in general, and why is it super important, especially in the NFT space, where so much buzz is around those apes, those punks, which is kind of art, but maybe not how you understand art.
It's just I grab on this because we have these examples just right on the left side of the stage. You can see actually three artworks, and the curation or the selection of the work it's happened as a collaborative community act within our NFT department. And we have chosen the artists together. We have Mamadou So, who is basically representing the global south within MISA and also here at the Mexico, because we think that it's very important that we can give voice to oppressed or minor opinions within the history of human culture. So we are looking into this colonial discourse regarding the continent of Africa, and he's based in Cologne, so he has a very mixed and interesting view of interpreting those historical facts. And on the other hand, we have Diana Kruger, who actually brings into something super performative and contemplative and attaches that kind of human action to the NFT technology. And I find her work very unique and engaging, a super poetic work, what you can see here. And third but not least, we have Elliot Dodd from the UK, who would look into actually the crypto market and also the stock market, like really refreshing our brain how the logic of those exchanges are working today and how they reshape our value system and try to influence us as communities together.
Maja, you recently launched a platform called Pinsel. You already said it in your introduction. How are you like curating the art on this platform, and what makes NFT special and what not?
So I think what is important to understand is, where does curation come from? Initially, the curator at a museum was the person that took care of everything that was in the museum. Eventually, museums at the beginning were hanging just paintings on top of each other and everything was full of stuff. And so the person that was like dusting and making sure nothing fell off the wall became the person that also decided what goes where and what works together. And once collections grew larger than just wall space, decided what was shown or not. And I think a curator is a person that understands either a specific topic or medium or time period or form of expression, and therefore has ideally a very wide view on things. When we come to NFTs, it is a very young space, but it's also, because of its wonderfully low entry barrier, full of things. And maybe not all of them would fall within the traditional definition of fine art under the umbrella of fine art. That said, fine art is something, the definition would probably take hours to truly hone down into. But like, for example, we spoke about the apes. That would be more regarded illustration. And I think one thing that we can maybe agree upon with fine art is there is a larger, longer standing practice within an artist's thinking of creating, as you mentioned, if you come from the global south and you have a colonial, maybe a diaspora aspect to your biography, that is something that comes up in your work a lot. And then that also is part of your NFT work. And I think what we're looking for at Pinsel is artists that truly use, if we use NFT as a medium, if we look at this modern technology as a medium, that use it wisely, that use it meaningfully, and where something that is created makes sense within the artist's practice. And it's not just, a jumping on a wagon or something. That said, we allow for repro NFTs. So some artists have the strong desire to have a physical work just recreated in a digital form. And there's definitely also collectives that look for that. But I personally always find it a lot more engaging and interesting to sit down with an artist, fully explain what the extent of this medium is, and then figure out what can that mean for your specific practice.
Yeah, so maybe I can add. So curation means for me educating. So really to bring art into the context of society and in the context of art history, and to really to explain the development of art. Yeah. So and curation, like do you with Pinsel and Misa, means so that you guide collectors through the art space and to give security, guidance and security. That is what we do with X Circle as well. So so that nobody is lost, yeah. And especially in the NFT space, there's a totally oversupply of images right now. So yeah, you can share your knowledge and maybe to, yeah. So
Maybe
give,
it's also
give an idea of quality, yeah.
Maybe it's also an interesting way to lower the entry barrier from a point of collecting. Because if you go to a restaurant and the menu has like 47 pages, you don't know what to choose. And especially if you haven't eaten at that restaurant before, you're like, but do I like this? And what is this cuisine? Whereas if you go to a curated platform, you won't have 47 pages of food, you maybe have 4. But then there's some authority that helps you kind of figure out what is what I like and what is what fits with me. And can you tell you like a larger story about the works you see?
Annette, you just mentioned education, and from this I want to move over to the question, how is it changing the art space? So we're living in a very digital world now, and education means that something is changing, right? And can you tell us a little bit more what it really is for the artists, for the collectors, for the curators, the galleries, so everyone involved in art needs to dive into this space in order to keep track? And what is really different at this kind of technology the NFTs brings with them?
Yeah, so we have different players in the art market. So we have the gallerists, we have auction houses, we have the artists, we have collectors. And I think so with all these new topics, we also have new professions. Yeah, so we are not longer only gallerists, so we are also advisors. So we have to educate artists how to create an NFT. We have to explain the technology. We have to advice in pricing and these things. And but for galleries, it's a huge opportunity really to extend the normal business and to create a space or community, an ecosystem around. Yeah. And then the artists, for me, are the real winners right now because we have a creators economy. And so artists are creators. There's a lot of big space for them. And as a collector, I guess, so you have to think about what you buy. And this is something what we already had with digital art before or video art. What you buy at the end is first a contract. Yeah, so really you have to know with the contract there are rights and duties. So there's a complete different responsibility in what you are buying. And yeah, so it's changing. Something is changing. It's at the end it's more work, but knowledge is a big advantage right now.
So maybe I can pass it over to you because I would be very curious on how you are approaching this from the point of an NFT platform, especially those topics around like getting the NFT to your customer, because it's like a little bit more complicated than traditional art. And how
You think? Try shipping like a very heavy, gigantic sculpture to like a remote location.
besides shipping,
Explaining a wallet is so much easier.
Yeah, but actually, I think there is something very interesting what Annette mentioned, and I would relate to that with how value has been produced pre-digitalization and today. So it used to be the canon, it used to be like vertical. There were institutions who told to the people, or there was like a noble class who would influence all the society of what is beautiful, what is valuable, what is art, or what is our culture. But with digitalization and the spread of Web3 culture, the value production became more horizontal. And of course, we have, as mentioned, this overflow of information. So curating became hyper important, but it's also the question, who is the curator today? The curator from yesterday probably becomes a dealer, apparently. So the curators are taking up more and more commercial role without being ashamed about it. They're getting a split in the smart contract, and the whole ecosystem becomes this kind of incentive interaction of information and content. While what happens with the collector, the collector suddenly became an institution and the promoter. So everybody is taking an active role in this ecosystem, and we are less exposed to those traditional institutional and canon systems. So probably we can get a little more critical, right? More agency to us.
Very interesting. But what I would like to know from you, we were talking a lot about what has changed and why this technology is so new for the art space. But what's actually the status quo? So how is the art market currently using the possibilities which are laying there, like the Web3, metaverse, AI, NFTs? What's going on? Who wants to start? Maja?
I think looking around, I would like to see truly a even more global usage of this. But what I definitely notice in from press releases to information I get sent, that we already see a more, like the other day, I was sent like an NFT drop information goes with a show from an artist that I've never heard of in Lagos, Nigeria. And that did not happen before NFTs as much, that a local player in Lagos would make enough waves to, and I'm not saying like maybe that's also down to my bubble and my interest, although I try to be as spread globally as I can in that sense. I think that is definitely something I really, really enjoy seeing, that we see examples where you have players move into the market that you formerly wouldn't see because the entry barrier was so high to find a gallerist that would show you in a European context, whether it is an art fair or, a biennale or something. I think one of my favorite examples of that is the Congolese plantation art workers, who is a art collective on a plantation in Congo that minted an NFT of a sculpture that has been looted or, moved and ended up in a museum in Virginia. And I think that is one of these cases where you truly see a wonderful, really, really interesting use case for NFTs, for widening and opening up this floor or the table where we all sit on, through the fact that it is fairly accessible once you get, as you said, like through the little complications of how does a wallet work, how do I mint. But there's enough information about it out there that I say like anyone with an internet connection can figure that out.
To me, so Web3 and I would say business models in the metaverse, is a kind of further development of already existing business models from platform economy. So we are talking about platforms. So artists have to use a platform. It must not be a gallery, but a curated space, a secured space. And what's different now is that. So as an artist, you get some more percentages of independent platforms, but this is something what is changing right now. But I can also see a big reluctance in the art world against NFT and things like that. But what's your experience?
People just don't know what NFTs are, so it takes time to make people understand it's a technology which provides a lot of different kind of opportunities to bring people together at the end of the day, I believe. And I think we would reach our target when NFTs would disappear in a way of the word of NFTs doesn't need to be used anymore, because it becomes a solid, accepted and adopted technology which lies behind of all contemporary solutions in order to connect people and enable information and asset exchanges.
Okay. I want to switch over to a little bit more technical topic now, because this is what excites us in Web3. Decentralization plays a very big role in it, and you already said that the process of like curating and collecting art changed. But how decentralized can art or the art market in general actually be? Annette?
So I already gave my answer. So for me, it's also about platforms. So at the end, is it really decentralized? No, there is an overlap from galleries to platforms, but it's still a platform. So what's your opinion?
How decentralized can this truly be? So if we look at fine art, it is tied to something that exists in the real world. To this day, it is still very much dominated by Northern Europe and North America. So it is a very Western dominated thing, this art market, if we want to call it that. And I think as long as we hope for a truly like entity that is detached from that, this is not really possible, because art is still, you know, within the realm of what we do. It is attached to a gallery in her case, and to a platform in my case that works with many galleries. So we have multiple brick and mortar places that are definitely not ready, and maybe also it's not necessary for them to give up their very, you know, physical location. And to me, it is more of a elevation that you have both, and that there is an experimental field, as you also beautifully said, it is a medium. And while there are some artists such as Warhol where we'll always be like, he's a screen print artist, and that will not go away. That is very much the medium he embodies so much that even years after his passing, he still is like, if you say screen print, a lot of people in art will immediately go there. But there's other artists that worked across mediums, and then it's no longer important whether part of the oeuvre has been a NFT or also maybe a print or maybe something, a film or a digital experience. Decentralized in terms of access, absolutely, a lot more. When we were just in Brussels at the gallery weekend, we had a VR gallery. And contrary to what maybe some people think, especially those are like, you know, the traditional art collectors, a lot of people 60 and up, maybe even in their 80s, they were super keen to try it. They loved it. There was one lady who was definitely like above 80. She was like, am I now in the metaverse? And I was like, yes, you are, in a really, really small way. We had kids try it, and they were like, I asked like a little boy after 10 minutes, like, do you wanna return to reality? He was like, kind of no. And I was like, okay, let's take this mask from this child because he doesn't want to go anymore. But what I mean is, like, we see a decentralized appreciation of art. And if we create places that are interesting enough that anyone can go there and enjoy it, that will happen. Creation will still be kind of tied to humans, at least in the sense of how we see art. There's obviously, like, you know, art that is completely created by computers, and that's a different thing. That is truly out there. But yeah.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense, that there are many different aspects to look into decentralization. But what I find, it's somehow the success or visibility of art is highly dependent on the current economical situation. So how the power games are shaping in the global like word platform that would highly influence the popularity of certain artists from certain region or certain technology. And by this, it's interesting to look at like well-being societies are tend to be more cultivated, spending more and looking at more of art. While if you go back to the roots, to rural communities, it's the same thing. Everybody is an artist there, but art doesn't has that kind of market. It rather has the community around. So creativity is always core of human existence, but the market itself around it is defined by economical principles, I think.
Cool. Last question for this awesome panel. Because we're here in an environment where we also try to push the narrative and try to push people into Web3 and mass adoption, could NFTs actually change how we collect, sell, and create fine art? Sorry again. Could NFTs really change how we collect, sell, and create fine art?
Yes, I believe so. First of all, we have a different entry barrier. And that is fundamentally different. Going to an art fair, like the first 3 days, you don't even get access as a normal person. Like you have to know somebody that knows somebody that gets your preview pass, then a first choice pass, then whatever pass. So the fact that you could potentially buy art is limited in itself. Whereas NFTs are accessible to truly anyone within the economic means, of course, but not all of them are at a price point that is truly like outrageous. And we see a lot of people spending more money on sneakers these days that they could potentially spend on NFTs. So I'm not terribly worried about the economical factor, because art is always a luxury. And so is fashion, and so are other things, and people still spend money on it. But I think like we will see a new group of collectors emerge out of it that also factors back into the traditional art market. Because say somebody now gets into NFTs, and then they get into fine art NFTs, and then they're like, but now I want to go to this art fair thing, and now I want to see what this artist also makes. Falls in love with a big canvas, and boom, you converted somebody from an entirely different space into something else. And so ideally we'll see those two worlds collide, and in some cases like merge into something. and influence each other in a positive way. Yeah.
20
wanna use
seconds
it?
left,
Yeah.
yeah?
Use the last seconds.
So I think it becomes natural. So we are moving towards a digital ownership economy. So collecting digital art will become natural. It's an evolution. Your last word.
I totally agree.
Awesome closing words. Thank you very much, ladies, and to all of you, have an awesome day.